think 80% is psychological and emotional state management. 80% of it is psychological, for sure, because you're going to get rejected a lot. You're going to get people to tell you to piss off. So we've got about 1.55 million in North America. We'll probably see that number shrink to somewhere around 500,000, 400,000 over the next 2 or 3 years. Do it anyways. That's my whole mantra. I don't feel like it, do it anyways. My kid was sick last night, do it anyways. I don't feel good, do it anyways. I'm not good at it, do it anyways.
Today, I'm with Colton Lindsay, a top 1% agent in North America, who's now overseeing 4,300 agents inside Real Brokerage across the US and Canada. In this episode, you'll learn the referral system Colton uses to turn 200 contacts into a referral pipeline without sounding salesy. Why 2/3 of agents in North America will be gone in 3 years, and the AI tools New Zealand agents should be exploring today. And the 6 daily habits Colton sees every top performing agent he's ever coached. Right, let's dive in.
People will either refer you because you'll make them look like a rock star, or they won't refer you because they're afraid you're going to embarrass them. You definitely have to understand that social media needs a formula. When you create content, there's really 4 steps that I like to follow. Just imagine like you're interviewing me, essentially interviewing my AI. It'll happen in the next 12 months where people will log into a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, and it will actually be an AI avatar that looks like the agent, sounds like the agent. And after that, my AI takes over and starts having a conversation with them. So right now, my company's having 6,000 conversations per month just in the DMs with human beings or AI.
This episode is brought to you by Real Growth. If you're an agent who wants more listings, more income, and you want the exact strategies you can use to achieve success, you're in the right place. I'm Ben Hawkey, and this is the Real Growth Podcast.
Colton, when you first got started, you built your business, I know, off like cold calling, for sale by owners, expireds. And from what I understand, you weren't shy of picking up the phone and prospecting and putting in the hard work. Most New Zealand agents, they know they should be prospecting, but they're just not doing it. So I'm keen to know, like, from your perspective, what do you think's actually stopping them, and what motivated you to actually just push through that uncomfortableness of actually making those calls?
I think 80% is psychological and emotional state management. 80% of it is psychological, for sure, because you're going to get rejected a lot. You're going to get people to tell you to piss off. You're gonna get people that are upset with you. And for me, I always have to be telling myself a compelling vision of the future. Like, what's the story of where I'm going? So I tell people all the time, write down how old you're going to be in 5 years. If you have kids, write down how old they're going to be in 5 years. Your parents around, your spouse, whatever. How old are they going to be? And what do you want your phase of life to look like? However you want it to look like, you got to pay for that. There has to be a vehicle that you're building to actually make that happen. And if it's not this, if it's not real estate, what's it going to be? So if you've chosen real estate, then go do the thing that actually makes it work. So I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan. I've been in his platinum partnership, been familiar with him for a long time now. He always talks about the power of proximity. And so one of the lessons I've learned is, once I have a compelling vision of the future, go get into proximity with the person that has the results that I want, see what they're doing, and do that exact thing. And there's one true thing across every country in real estate: the people that talk to the most people sell the most real estate. They're the ones that have the most listings. The people that are nurturing those relationships, they do the most deals. It's just a given. So if you want that, just go do that.
But yeah, I think that's a great point. People write down their goal on a piece of paper and then they put it on their desk and they forget about it. But like you just said, you're creating that vision of actually the lifestyle that you want. It's not about hitting a specific number, is it? It's about actually the lifestyle you actually want.
And that's what I kind of like. I like goals. They're good. I'm not saying that they're bad, but I don't want people to just focus on a goal. Focus on, how do you want to actually experience your life? What type of house do you want to live in? What type of car do you want to drive? How do you want your kids to go through school and education? When you travel and you go on holiday or vacation, how do you want to experience that? Right? Do you want to go on a nice first class flight? Do you want to fly private? Do you want to have to just drive and go camping? Like, what is your thing? And there's no right or wrong. There's just different levels and the experience. So focus on the experience and how you're going to fund that. Don't focus on, like, too often people are like, oh, I want to make $1 million, which I love. I make multiples of millions at this point. which is good. But if it's just anchored to zeros, there's no emotion, energy and motion to get you to pick up the phone, to have the conversation, even when you're all sweaty and nervous. And I remember when I first started calling, I was literally, my palms were sweaty and I could almost like choke on my own breath because I would forget to breathe. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's having that compelling vision of a future that allows me to go do it anyways, even when I don't feel like it. Do it anyways. That's my whole mantra. I don't feel like it, do it anyways. My kid was sick last night, do it anyways. I don't feel good, do it anyways. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good
Yeah.
at it, do it anyways.
I love it. I love it. And building off the back of that, one of the things I've heard you say is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like you said, one of the earliest mistakes you kind of made was just focusing on the for sale by owners and the expireds without building long-term relationships with
Yes.
your database. So if you were to start out again today, or if you're talking to an agent who's maybe been in the business for a few years, but they're constantly chasing the next transaction, what advice or how would you approach it differently today in terms of focusing on building those
Yes,
relationships?
I would do two things. The first thing that I would do is if I've been in the business for a little bit, a few years and I've done some deals, I'd write down the list of all the people I've worked with. That'd be my first group, right? Then the second is I'd write a list of all the people that I just like, if I was at the grocery store and I could say hi to them and I know them, I'd write their names and information down. And I think every person I think you can come up with 200 people easily. And then you take that list of 200 people and you create a marketing plan to stay in touch with them. Now, there's so many updated ways today to do it with softwares and things like that. But I think some very basic fundamentals for me is what I did is I did 3 client events every single year. So in the spring, kind of summer, late fall, I would do an event where I would invite all of that list of 200, and it grew over time. I invite all of them, and I just pretty much have a party for them. Like we do here in the US what are called a corn maze or pumpkin patch, right? So like a fall harvest festival. We do like I'd rent out big swimming pools with like wave pools. We've done ice skating, roller skating, but we'd rent out a venue and we'd invite all those people. So that's the first thing. Make the list. Second thing, invite them to client events. Third thing that I would do is I would touch base with them about every 8 weeks personally. Today, you could do it through a voice note or you could just comment literally on their Instagram stories or something like that. I would still do this today as well, which is a fourth thing I would do. And we do something in the US. I don't know how you guys could do it there, but essentially we send a postcard out to these people, but it has like some special like buy one get one free at a place like we have is like Crumble Cookies. It's a really good cookie store, right? So it's like co-marketing, but it gives them a reason to do something. And then obviously an automated email campaign of some sort. Absolutely. So these are just a handful, but if you could create that plan, like my view is, can you touch someone like 87 times a year, little tiny things to just stay in front of them so that the opportunity when they're thinking of buying or selling or having someone, like they're at a party, they think real estate. Oh, you got to get with my guy, Colton. Like he is the absolute best. Right. And people will either refer you because you'll make them look like a rock star, or they won't refer you because they're afraid you're going to embarrass them.
Yeah. And so what are you doing as well, like to, I guess exactly what you said, people will refer if they know you're going to provide an amazing service to them. What are you doing to, I guess, maybe subtly or clearly communicate that if they were going to refer you to XYZ person, that you're going to do an amazing job? If they met, what
Yeah.
kind of thing? Is it
So
about content? Is it about emails?
there's two things that I did. I think there's a third thing that you can do more easily today than ever before. So I'll talk about that last. The first thing is at least 3 times a year, you should be having a direct ask for a referral. And so the way I do that is I say, hey, look, I'm just wondering if I could ask for a favor. And they're like, well, what is it? Depends on the favor. And I'm like, well, I'm expanding my real estate business. And I'm just wondering if you hear of anybody thinking of making a move, buying a house, selling a house, investing in the next while that I should have on my radar, would you feel comfortable sending them my way? And they're always going to say yes to you in the direct ask. But you got to take it one step further and you say, hey, look, I know that it's asking a lot to send someone my way. So I promise you this, anyone you send my way, I will take absolute care of them. I'll make sure you're updated, you look good, and make sure that these people just have an incredible experience. So I call it just sharing the brand promise, essentially, right? The second thing that is going to help you is just time on task of actually delivering great service to people so that they've experienced it, and then they will have that trust for you. The third thing that you can do today that you couldn't always do though is you could almost become a local celebrity on Instagram, right? So if you become a celebrity type figure on Instagram where your content's really great and you're really focused on the communities and the different things and people know you as that like expert, that automatically levels up a thing of trust for sure for getting referrals.
And so moving forward to build on top of that, the social media community, what type of content would you be suggesting as kind of a non-negotiable you think agents should be creating in order to position themselves as that local expert and also that person that they can trust? Because everyone's doing the market update and the just sold and the just listed.
Yeah, those are
It just
blessed.
bleeds into everything else. So what's some key things that you're like, most agents aren't doing this, but this will take them to the next level if they actually do?
Yeah. Well, you definitely have to understand that social media needs a formula. And so when you create content, there's really four steps that I like to follow. The first is you have to hook their attention psychologically, like a psychological trigger to grab their attention. Okay. The second thing is you have to keep their attention by stacking a problem. And then the third is you need to take and lead their attention by giving them a solution. And then the final thing is what's called a call to action. Comment X or send me a DM or whatever, right? And so understanding the formula is the first thing. Then the second thing is you got to get really good at what that hook is going to be for the people you're trying to capture. Okay, that is in your area. So when you're creating content, what are things that will capture their attention locally? Because that's who you're focused on. Okay. The third thing is in your content is what I call magnetic marketing. Essentially, people want to just see that you're a human being, right? So it doesn't need to always be like flashy. Oh, I'm on the yacht. It could be simply like a family barbecue, or you're at your kids. I don't know if you guys have soccer on the weekends or whatever, right? Like, just like you with watching your kiddo's soccer game, right? Like, but letting them in to see like that you're a human being is very, very key in my experience for that. The final thing that I would recommend and suggest is there's other kind of local celebrities that are small business owners in your marketplace. You should be building relationships with them and creating collaborative content. And this does two things. One is it validates you, like social proof, like, oh, shoot, they're hanging out with that person that's really, and then the second thing is it actually introduces you to their
The other-
audience,
yeah.
their community, their network. Yeah, those are the things I would recommend on this. So also finding topics that work for you. So like funny things that about your career or your job, right? Like make it funny and entertaining. Also, like what works really well is if you're creating content about a really nice property, right? Like you can and not boring, like, but like you can make it a really nice, well edited, like fun, catchy video, right? But if you just get on and be like, well, let's give you the today's market reports on the interest rates and days on market, like no one's going to listen to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And how has within the brokerage, because you still run a brokerage, right? And you've got agents that you're managing and things like this. How
Yes.
is
So that's a good question. So I sold my independent brokerage and then I partnered with a national brokerage here. Well, we're in US and Canada. It's called Real Brokerage. We're publicly traded. And I oversee about 4,300 agents in the company. We have about 34,000 overall and about 4,300 that are in my network.
Gotcha. And so how have you seen the social media impact their business? The ones that are actively using it, obviously there'll be agents within there that don't even touch it, but like how have you seen that, whether it's in your own business or just other agents that you work closely with, how has that impacted their business? Like
Well, I
changed it or maybe
think
transaction?
it's interesting. So there's a couple of categories here. There's some agents that don't touch social media. They're actually doing really well, but it's because they really manage their relationships and their database extremely well, right? Then there's these other people that only use social media, but don't really do anything else to build relationships and manage their database, those people are doing okay. They're doing okay. But the ones that are doing the best is they're managing their database, like using different softwares and client events and things, and they're using social media with that. They're the ones that are doing the absolute best. And what you're seeing develop are actually essentially building a really strong personal brand. And so those agents that just manage their database, they make really good money selling real estate, hands down. The agents that are on social media, they're getting by. They're doing good. They're only doing that, but they're getting by. But those that manage their database and social media, they kind of marry that. They're also now being able to grow and expand their brand with what we call attachment rate here in the US. I don't know if it's possible in New Zealand, but now they're able to get paid on the mortgage origination as well, or they're able to get paid. We have what's called title and escrow here, that processes the closing. They're able to have a joint venture inside of that title company, so they're getting profit share, right? Or because they have such a solid brand, other real estate like type companies that market to agents and buyers and sellers are willing to give them revenue share type deals on their products because their brand is so trusted.
Before we move on with the episode, I just want to share something genuinely useful, especially if you're a real estate agent or a real estate business owner. Now, after analyzing over 2,000 property listing campaigns, we found something most agents miss. 20 to 30% of buyer inquiries are coming from local homeowners. And around 10% of those homeowners go on to sell their own property within the next 12 months, which means your future listings are often already sitting amongst those buyer inquiries. You just don't know who they are and how to uncover those opportunities. And that's why we created the Level Up Listing Toolkit. It's a free resource we have created that will show you how to identify those homeowners, nurture them properly, and ultimately convert them into future listings. You can download the toolkit by clicking the link in the show notes below, or if you're on Instagram or Facebook, just comment the word toolkit and we'll send it directly to you. All right, back to the episode.
So that's really that's how you can amplify it and really take it to a new level.
Yes, talking about personal brand, is there a shift away from the big corporate brands and into smaller boutique brands and personal brands in the real estate space, or is there still some
Personal brands, yes. Personal brands we're seeing where people are merging with platforms. Now, the old models, we call them legacy models. So think Remax is one, Century 21, Coldwell Banker. These are all ERA. These are all legacy brands here. It's interesting. Let's take Remax, for example. In the United States, over the last 5 years, they've dropped from about 84,000 agent count to about 72,000, 73,000 agent count. So they're actually declining, but they're starting to grow agents in other countries, right? So that's the way that those older models are able to grow. Whereas even if you take a look at their market cap was $1.4 billion in 2017, roughly. They had about 25 million in net income. I don't remember what their gross revenue was. I don't know, 400 million or something. Whereas today, their gross revenue is maybe in the 280 million, but their net income is only around 8 million. So it's dropped dramatically because they're losing so much count here. Now, the challenge, which is like a boutique brokerage, is the same challenge that, say, a Remax or a Century 21 had. Like if you look at how those, like especially Century 21 grew, they were able to take an independent owner, bring them into their franchise. It made sense. They had a really great network because it was pre-internet, and they would expand, but then they were able to get a 7x value on it, multiple on it. They could borrow a bunch of money. That's why they had 3-6. I don't know if you followed the Compass purchase here in the US. They bought all those companies. So Compass is a tech company that actually bought Anywhere brand, which is Century 21, Coldwell Banker, some of the legacy brands. They just barely happened because those companies borrowed all this money, $3.6 billion, spent most of it on marketing and sales to sell franchises across the US, Canada, and then into parts of Europe and other countries that have those franchises, right? But they didn't do this. And it's the same problem the small boutique companies has. They didn't invest in technology. And so technology is becoming so radically relevant and disruptive in how things are happened Those older models can't keep up. Boutique doesn't have the money to invest in it. They just can't, even though they know they need it. And so the companies that we're actually seeing it do really, really well are real estate tech platforms that now are partnering with personal brands. So some of the two biggest companies here in the US is a company called Real Broker, which is ours, and then another company called EXP, which is it's an even bigger company. But essentially they're partnering with really solid personal brands and then attaching on their platform to be able to go at scale, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Which I think you'll start to see. You guys don't hear about it at all. Compass, you're going to probably start to hear about that company more globally since they just purchased Coldwell Banker and Century 21 and some of those legacy models that are in other countries, because they're going to start to merge their technology into those companies. I don't know if it'll be a rebrand, but you'll definitely see the technology become involved.
And so for all the New Zealand and Australian listeners, what is going on from a tech perspective in America right now? Because usually you guys are a few years ahead of us. What technology is being implemented into the real estate space that's really changing the game?
AI, for sure. I'll give you two examples where artificial intelligence is making some big changes. So I'll give you one that we use. So there's a product called Go High Level. You could use it anywhere in the world, but it attaches on to an agentic AI called appointwise.io. So appointwise is, you can train this AI to pretty much sound like you would through text message. So you can program it through to think, not just to give canned responses, but to actually think based on the response they get from the prospect. And you can feed leads into that. So very simple way is pay-per-click leads, right? So someone says, oh, check out this house or whatever, then they opt in to read about it or find out about it. And now all of a sudden AI starts following up with this person and building a relationship with them to where they're scheduling 15-minute calls with real estate agents, right? So whereas historically, like how I built my business, and this isn't a replacement for this yet, I think it will be, but I had to be on the phones calling people all the time. Now it's getting to the point where if someone, even a past client, is fear of influence, messages that line, my AI can talk just like it's me, right? And move it down the line. Here's another technology that we're working on in our company, Real Brokerage. It's called Hey Leo. Now, I don't know if you guys have multiple listing services in New Zealand, but do you guys have that?
We have 3 main listing platforms.
Okay, so we have multiple listing services across the US that we are getting contracts with. We already have them all in Canada, whereas we can put into the hands of our prospects or our past clients this AI called Hey Leo, and they can just voice talk or chat with it their entire property search with AI. But every time they talk to it, AI is gathering information on them, creating a client profile that you can look just like it's a CRM and you can see all the conversations, see everything happening. But it's taking it to the point that it's nurturing those leads, getting them qualified for the mortgage, scheduling showings. So all of that's happening with artificial intelligence before the agent actually has to get involved as a human, which that to me is still pretty advanced, because the challenge with that product is we still have to finalize contracts with all the listing platforms, right? But as those continue to have, now all of a sudden, let's think about this. They can literally call on a phone number if they want, or they can talk to the AI through the chat box, and the conversation is in your voice now, because you can actually use your voice, but it's AI having it. And now it's linked to every property in the multiple listing service. So it's like, oh, that one might not work, but this one. And then they say, well, I want something that's close to a certain school or good school. I don't know that as a human being unless I have a lot of experience, but now AI instantly knows it. So, hey, were you thinking of this private school or this one's over here, right? Like now it's given so much more information. It can dial it down quicker and builds that profile. It remembers things that you can't remember as a human being and moves them down the path. So I think those are the biggest things that over the next 12 months are really going to change things. There's one other thing that isn't there yet, but I think in 12 months we'll start using it in the US here, is agentic AI for discovery calls. So let's say that the lead calls in and sets the appointment and you have to do the type of discovery or presentation with them. Just imagine like you're interviewing me essentially interviewing my AI. It'll
Yeah.
happen in the next 12 months where people will log into a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, and it will actually be an AI avatar that looks like the agent, sounds like the agent, but it's not the agent, having the conversation with the human to really qualify them and even move them further down the process or get contracts signed.
That's absolutely, I can see exactly just how people talk to ChatGPT now or Claude or whatever AI that people are using. So you've got a real brokerage
Exactly.
AI that people just chat to, and then it's just
Exactly.
referring properties and providing basically becoming a buyer's agent, or even does it work for sellers as well?
We don't have it developed for sellers yet, but with time, that would be the objective, is to develop for sellers.
But it would be asking those questions, identifying if
Exactly.
they need to sell in order to buy, and then just passing that on to an agent at a certain point in time.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And what's interesting, so going back to personal brands, how that particular thing will work is now, like, I've got a huge audience of relationships, so I can put it in front of people. They start using it. Real broker, because we're publicly traded, we will actually pay you 50 cents per minute that your consumer is having conversations on it. So we're finding more ways that real estate agents can actually get paid
Mm,
besides just the close of escrow and transaction,
gotcha. That makes
which is
complete sense.
quite crazy when you think about it. Like, it's completely different than how this. And I think what you should be considering if you're listening to this podcast is asking this question: is how will buyers and sellers transact real estate in the next 3 to 5 years? Always be asking that question and seeing, and then innovate into that. You need to be moving into that, because the people that don't move into it, we're going to see a consolidation, at least in US and North America. We're going to see a consolidation of actually real estate people. So we've got about 1.55 million in North America. We'll probably see that number shrink to somewhere around 500,000, 400,000 over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And do you think the commissions and the money that's being made will naturally come down
I
due to
think
the
we're already starting to see compression, not on the real estate agent side yet, but on the brokerage side, because real estate agents are starting to recognize that the brokerage needs me more than I need them, but the agent recognizes, smart ones, that I need technology. So they're finding technology either through a platform they partner with, or they're just developing it through piecing it together. Because you can build technology pretty cheap now with
Yeah.
like Claude GPT, Codex, right? And so the margins are starting to compress on brokerages right now. Like, that's why and I gave Remax and Cinch 20 as examples. They're now losing money or having very narrow profit margins. And so it becomes difficult for them. Whereas an agent says, well, why am I paying this company if they're not helping me? I want to increase my margins and go somewhere else. But also, I I haven't seen real estate agents' commissions get compressed yet. We haven't seen that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes. And that's why we're teaching our agents, you got to squeeze more juice out of the lemon, meaning, well, don't just get paid on the real estate, get paid on the mortgage, get paid on the title. Like, here's something very interesting that we're doing with our company is most agents say they have like an 80-20 split, right? With the brokerage, they keep 80%, the brokerage keeps 20. And in the US, it's gone to where most brokerages have a cap. So let's say it's a 12,000 or 60. Once an agent pays 16 grand, they get to keep 100% of their commission. That's very, very common here in the US now. So once that happens, the company doesn't make any more money. It's essentially what's called a pass through. So what we did is we created a bank with inside of our brokerage. We started real estate financial technology, and every agent gets what's called a real wallet, and they have their own, like, I might even have one right here. I can't remember. I don't know if I've got it with me right now, but essentially they've got their real credit card so they can transact their whole life on it. But now, as we pay our agents, that's great. They go live their life. They go to Starbucks and use their debit card or credit card. We're getting paid that transaction fee because now we're a bank as
Yeah.
well. Does that
Wow.
make sense?
That
And what
makes
we've
sense.
done, we're in like half of the states right now, whereas now we've become a lending company to our agents because we know their production. They can borrow money as a line of credit. So, like, like some of our agents have $1 million line of credit that they can use to do an investment on a property or cash flow management, right? So the future of real estate for brokerages specifically, not so much agents, well, I think agents as well, but for brokerages, how do I make more money off of what we already have? And then to really keep agents involved with that, how do we make sure that the agents are getting involved with that and making money off of that as well, right? It can't just be the brokerage wins anymore and the agents don't. That's going away.
Yeah. That's really interesting. You're opening up a lot of the minds probably listening to this. Now, you're far more ahead of us in terms of what's going on in the AI world. If we're looking ahead 10 years, do you have any predictions on where a real estate agent, like a human agent, sits in the process and where they've been kind of eliminated? You've kind of touched on it, like with the avatars and the initial discovery conversations. What part will the agent remain, or do you think at some point in the future
Yeah, I
everything will
do.
be?
I think agents will reduce, meaning there'll be fewer and fewer, and that there will be business owners and owners of technology and owners of technological systems. So I could see a world like the key is owning data. If you can own more data of other people and build relationships with them and feed them into your technological systems, that's the key. So I could see a world in the next 10 years where if you're really good at harnessing that data and moving them into AI technology that works, where AI develops the relationship, sets the appointment, pre-qualifies them, goes over and a robot opens the door, shows them the home. Like you think about it, and you guys, I don't know if you have this in New Zealand. We have this in multiple states here now where an autonomous vehicle comes, picks you up, and you drive away. Like we will have here in the US, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, they'll be replaced within 5 years. Okay. So within 5 to 10 years, we'll have the humanoid robots that they'll be able to get in an autonomous vehicle, go over and open the property, no problem for the human to be able to see.
Hey, if you're getting value from this conversation and you're the type of person who doesn't want to listen to good ideas, but you actually want to implement them, we've built something for you. Every podcast we record, we pull out the key strategies and turn them into done for you action plans, scripts, and templates. So instead of frantically scribbling notes or telling yourself, I'll come back to that later and never doing it, we're giving you the actual tools to go and implement what you're hearing right now. You can find all of this inside the Real Growth Listing Lab. Every guest, every episode, every strategy turned into something you can use to start growing your business tomorrow. Just click the link in the show notes. It'll only take 10 seconds. Right, let's get back into it.
Yeah.
That's next level.
So if you really want to develop on how people are going to transact real estate, is you have to be the owner of technology or be partners in a technology company that you can leverage.
What about the negotiation piece between, because there'll be agents listening going, wow, hang on, do you think AI will replace
I think
that
it'll
part
get
as
to the
well? Like
point where,
negotiating?
so imagine like you have your AI and I have my AI. Our AIs will negotiate the deal in the future.
Just go, yep, that seems fair.
Exactly. We're overseeing the process.
Yeah, right. So the seller will have their AI selling that, the buyer will have their AI and will negotiate the deal.
Like 100.
Right. Interesting.
But AIs are programmed a certain way, right? So like the AI has to become trained. It doesn't just automatically. And so you have to be, everything is about prompting. Like if I could give some feedback for you viewers or listeners, get really good at giving direction to AI. Because if you can give direction to AI, it's got the infinite resource of the world intelligence to then go figure that out. But unless you know how to really give it direction, then that's where it won't just figure out exactly how you want it.
I never thought we were going to go into a podcast and go so heavily into AI, but I reckon we just stay on this and then finish it up, because I reckon maybe we could chat another time and go about, I don't want to change the topic because I'm loving this. How are you leveraging AI on a day-to-day basis? You talk about the importance of providing context and providing clear direction. How are you using it today? What tools are you using? If there were agents out there that are like, geez, I'm using ChatGPT to ask it Google related questions, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface and underutilizing this tool. What are you actually doing? And what advice would you give the agents?
Well, I think it would be good to understand the levels of adoption of of AI. I recently spoke on a panel at a big real estate conference with this, and I think understand like, okay, if you're using, so let's just use GPT or Claude, those are or Gemini. Let's say you're using them once a month. You're just kind of asking it questions, playing around on it. That's what's called play mode. And if you're at play mode, you're really behind, right? Like you truly, truly are behind. But then let's say you're using GPT or Claude every single day at some level to maybe create content. I think that's a very common form. Like you can tell all people on Instagram now using GPT to create content, right? That's more of a play mode. That's becoming more of a daily mode and regular occurrence. What I would recommend is you start to figure out, well, how do I start to use it by the minute or a level of functionality? Okay. And you're like, well, how do I do that? Right. Like that's the question, is how? Well, here's a couple of simple ways that I use it on a daily mode, maybe not by minute, but like, for example, I'm rereading this book. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called The Gap in the Game. It's a really good book. Highly recommend it. And at the end of each chapter, you've probably seen books like this. They have questions. Once you read the book, you can answer. I just screenshot the questions, plug it into my GPT and say, ask me these one at a time. So I answer it with my own thoughts. And then I say, compile the patterns based on my answers. Right. So I'm using it to understand myself better. That's one simple way. I don't know if you guys are using it that way yet, but that's how I use it. Another way that I use it is, so my main focus, I don't list and sell real estate anymore because I train and recruit and attract agents into our brand. So one of the ways I do it is I create content. Okay. Some of our content, people don't know this. We've generated it through AI. We've basically used avatars that looks just like me and sounds like me. And we give it the script on what to say. But then if you notice a lot of my content, I say comment the word info or comment the word agent, right? So the moment that happens, my AI has an API relationship with Instagram. It automatically sends them a free thing. You've seen that through ManyChat. That's a very common thing. But then after that, my AI takes over and starts having a conversation with them. So right now, my company's having 6,000 conversations per month just in the DMs with human beings were AI. And so you could literally, like, I don't know, I would assume a Pointwise would work in New Zealand. Like I would go like explore a pointwise.io.
Pointwise.
Yep, a pointwise.io, because that's an agentic AI version, and start to see how you could tap it into, depending on what your goals are. Is it, if you're growing a brokerage, yeah, 100% I would do it like that. You could also use that same thing via text message, right? So I told you the example earlier, pay-per-click ads, the buyer's asking about such and such listing or however you get creative with it. That same agentic AI can have the text message conversation. That's the fastest way you can start to learn to use it as a level of by minute and functionality today. There's a whole other rabbit hole you could go down, but I don't think it's where you want to take necessarily your audience if you want them buying and selling real estate today.
Yeah.
Because you could go deeper on it.
So a Pointwise IO, is that something that's replaced your ManyChat now, or is it?
We use a little bit of ManyChat as well, because there's some functionalities with Instagram that are still, they don't let you do. So for example, it doesn't let AI start the conversation, but it lets ManyChat start the conversation. So ManyChat will start the conversation, but once the person responds, whether they respond in words or click a button to respond, like yes or no, whatever, then all of a sudden our AI can have the freedom to start having the conversation.
Gotcha. We're definitely I'm going to check that out and see how we can integrate that into the New Zealand market. I've got a couple more questions, and that's more high level. You said you coach thousands of agents. When you look at the ones who have actually, I guess, break through and become super successful versus the ones that are kind of stuck, what's the pattern? Is it skill, mindset? Is it systems?
So I think,
what do you see it is?
I think there's two sides to the pattern. The first side, I don't know how to give you a pattern for this, but they're just freaking hungry to win. They're just hungry to grow, to have a better life and to do whatever it takes. Like they're hungry for it. And I don't know how to teach that. I think it's just some people got it and they don't. But then the other side of the pattern is those people that are hungry and then do have success, they do some certain things. The first thing that they do every single day, in my experience, they have some type of connection and relationship with a higher power. Like, this is one of the most common things that I see, at least with the agents I work with. They're really tapping into something bigger than them, trusting something bigger than them. The second thing that I see all of them do, they actually work on their skill set of communication every single day, whether it's getting better at the listing presentation, the buyer presentation, having conversations with their clients, or even having leadership role conversations. But they're doing something every day to improve their ability to persuade and influence others. The third thing that I see them doing every single day at some level is they're reaching out, outbound conversations. No matter their level of where they're at, like whether they're successful in their first couple of years or they've been successful for 20 years, they're having 30 plus outbound conversations every single day. We're starting to see agents replace to where those outbounds are happening with AI, but nonetheless, that is a key component. Even if their AI is having certain outbound conversations for them that leverage the business, they're additionally having outbound conversations. Like, you reached out to me, that's an outbound conversation, right? Like, so that is a third thing I see them doing every day, is some type of outbound conversation every single day. The fourth thing that I see them every single day doing is face-to-face meetings with prospective people that they can enroll to their product. So if it's a seller, if it's a buyer, or if they've really scaled beyond that, where they're now recruiting agents to build their brand, they're having face-to-face meetings with their agents. The fifth thing I see them doing every day is measuring their metrics. They're tracking what they're inputting, they're tracking their numbers, and they're being able to have some measurable numbers that they can see progress. And so all of them are doing some type of what I call an end of day report. Like our company, it's literally just a link we pop up and we fill out some things and it collects the data, and then the data, we can measure it, right? And then the final thing that they're doing is, I think this is probably one of the key things, is they pretty much have like a 20 or 30-minute meeting with their self every single day. Kind of like, think of it as like a CEO meeting for their life, where they're just getting clear on the next 24 hours of their life and what they're going to accomplish. And that's not just in business. That could be with their relationship, with their money, with their health, their body, with their parents, right? They're saying, okay, what do the next 24 hours look like? But they do that 20 or 30-minute meeting every single day. So hopefully those are some clear 6 steps that your audience can.
I think you've done this before, Colton.
I mean,
This is not your first time.
It's not my first time. I'm pretty clear on what, you know. So one thing, and I love that you asked the word patterns. If I could teach your audience this is one thing I learned from doing so much with Tony Robbins, is the first thing is pattern recognition. And that's why I love that question, is identify what those top people are doing. Second, though, this is where a lot of people get stuck, even if they get the pattern. Use the pattern. So it's called pattern utilization. So recognize it and then utilize it. Like, I gave you a pattern. Now go use it, whoever you are listening to this, right? And then the third, this is where we're getting really cool time in life to do it, is pattern creation. Once you recognize patterns and you're using them in your own life, you'll get good at it. You'll start to invent new patterns or create new patterns. That's where it gets really, really fun. But you can't get to the pattern creation until you've really started using the patterns that do work.
And when you say that, just going back really quickly, you said you're having that meeting with yourself and you're planning the next 24 hours, that you're basically saying, hey, you need to be organized. So when you wake up in the morning, you've got your plan for the day. Is that right?
Yeah.
You've already made out what your goals are, and you're not just waking up and the phone rings and you're just kind of chasing.
Exactly. I like to call them outcomes, not so much goals. So here's what I noticed is, and I used to do this, and I see so many agents do this today. They have a list of things they need to do, but it's all in their head. And so they're reacting to it. And that list almost plays on replay in their brain. So let's say they need to get 15 things done that day. It feels like 1,012,000 because they keep going over the list over and over again. So they get overwhelmed and frustrated. And then they feel like at the end of the day, they didn't get much progress, or like they're behind. And that's very true, because they don't have a clear direction. Whereas one clear step in this meeting I tell people to do is take the first 5 or 10 minutes and just see how far you've come, maybe 5 minutes, and see like how far you've grown as a person. And then the second part is brain dump. Like, all the things you think you need to get done in the next 24 hours that are replaying in your brain, get them on paper. And you'll find out there's maybe 15 to 20 things. There's not that many. We think there's more than there really is. The third thing that they do is once they've got it on paper, is they then clump them into little groups. And they'll notice like 3 or 4 of them are like similar groups. So they'll break them into those maybe 3 to 5 groups of things that they need to get accomplished. And then they'll name those groups. So this is called labeling the outcome. And then the final thing they'll do is they'll flood it with certainty. Like, why is it important that I get this done? And it goes back to that compelling story of the future that people want to accomplish.
Yeah. And there'll be probably a lot of tasks in there that you're like, actually, it's actually not even relevant to where I want to be and I actually not even going to bother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then there's certain things too, like are very simple that just keep putting back on the back burner. That might just be the simple thing of scheduling something on your schedule. Like that's the action that needs to get done. It's just schedule it on my calendar. Then I'll remember it another day.
Colton, I think it's a great way to finish up. One more question. If there's one thing you would want agents to take away from today's conversation, what would you want that one thing to be if they could just take one thing away?
So I love real estate. I've been in this industry 21 years now, and I love what it's done for me and my family. And I think if you're in real estate, it's a vehicle for something better for you and your family and your life and what you're creating. And I think there's 3 things. And in fact, I was talking with Elise, that's my fiance, and she's really focused on this right now. And I think it's just so beautiful is to understand that. Well, let me tell a little bit of a story. There's a story that there's this treasure hunter in the ocean. And this is a true story. You look up on the internet, but he took like 30 years to find this treasure. But he learned some lessons over this time. And there was 3 lessons he learned. The first lesson is that the treasure is out there. Like the first is that there is a treasure to be found in your life, right? The second is it's worth it. The treasure is freaking worth it. Like it's big enough that it's valuable enough. It's worth to go whatever it freaking takes to go find that treasure. The third, though, is the most important, in my opinion, is that you believe it's possible that you can find the treasure.
Before we finish, here are 2 simple actions you can take following today's episode. First, if you're a real estate agent focused on growing your real estate business and you'd just like some clear guidance on what marketing and prospecting systems you should be focusing on so you can list more properties, make more money, and ultimately build a sustainable long-term real estate business, simply click the link in the show notes and book a marketing roadmap call with either myself or the team. Or alternatively, if you're happy with the income you're making, please just hit the share button and share this episode with an agent in your office who might benefit from hearing it. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next episode.